with regard to the actual squat, the breathing pattern is going to be reversed if you are doing anatomical breathing versus breathing for the purposes of doing intense exercise. Another pattern would be, let's take an example of a pull movement. If we are doing horizontal pulling, when you do a horizontal pull, hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with Team Euphoric, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about breathing. Specifically, how should you breathe during exercise? In 17 years of coaching people, this is one of the things that a lot of people seem to have trouble with. They either end up holding their breath or they end up mixing up their breathing pattern. They end up inhaling when they should exhale or exhaling when they should be inhaling. One of the reasons why this happens is because a lot of people have an inverted breathing pattern. I already covered this last year in another video, so I'm not going to go too much into detail. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to include a link right up over here to that video. But basically, the way you're supposed to breathe, the first 2/3 of the inhale, the belly should expand. The last third, the chest should expand. And then when you exhale, it's the reverse. The first third, your chest should collapse. The last 2/3, your belly should collapse. Also, a lot of people end up breathing in 2D. What I mean by that is people breathe just front to back. People should be breathing in 3D. What that means is at the end of your inhale, you should have some lateral expansion of the rib cage and also some vertical expansion of your actual shoulders. Most people, they're going to be very, very shallow breathers, so they're not going to have any lateral or vertical expansion. They only end up breathing through the belly, and this is going to lead to a lot of breathing errors when they are performing actual exercise. Another thing worth noting is because a lot of people are shallow breathers and they tend to breathe through their chest, you would want to incorporate some diaphragmatic breathing to learn how to breathe properly and be able to get a more recovery from your actual workout. So if you have poor awareness of your diaphragm or a very, very weak diaphragm, incorporating some exercises for awareness exercises for your diaphragm and also some segmental strengthening and reinforcement exercises for your diaphragm would be terrific to learn how to breathe properly. I actually made a video a couple days ago with regard to awareness exercises for the diaphragm and some segmental strengthening and reinforcement exercises for the diaphragm. So if you haven't seen that video, I would highly recommend that you go ahead and watch that video. I'm going to include a link right up over here. It's only 3 minutes long, but go ahead and incorporate those exercises into your program. But going back to the actual breathing mechanics, in terms of breathing, when you are exercising, there are two different ways that you can breathe. One is going to be anatomically, and that is going to be the way your body is naturally wired to breathe. And this is when you're doing low intense exercise. When you're doing high intense exercise, then the breathing pattern is going to go according to the concentric and eccentric portions of the actual exercise. What I mean by all of this, with regard to anatomical breathing or low intensity training breathing, you want to mimic your breathing with how your breathing naturally moves with your body. So naturally, when you inhale, inhale is coupled with extension, external rotation, and abduction of the humerus. When you exhale, it is coupled with flexion, internal rotation, and adduction. So whenever you are performing any exercise that involves primarily extension, abduction, or external rotation, you should be inhaling if you're doing anatomical or low intensity exercise. When you are doing very vigorous exercise, you want to go according to the concentric and eccentric. So let's say you are doing a bench press. With a bench press, as you go down toward the chest, what's going to happen is your chest is going to expand, you're going to abduction of the shoulders. So what you would want to do is inhale on the way down and then exhale on the press. This is going to be the exact same as if you would inhale and exhale doing concentric and eccentric if you're doing high intensity. When you're doing high intensity, you want to inhale during the eccentric and then you want to exhale during the concentric. So during the bench press, same breathing. You're inhaling during the lowering phase, so the eccentric phase, and then you are exhaling during the concentric or the actual push. Now let's take another pattern like the squat. If you are doing very, very intense exercise, let's say you're doing powerlifting or just something where you're lifting above 60% of your 1 repetition maximum, what you would want to do is you would inhale on the way down, hold your breath, and then you would exhale as you explode up to the top. Whereas let's say you are doing anatomical breathing, or if you are doing very, very low intensity exercise, this would be great for something like meditation, chakra exercise work, any of those types of exercises that are very, very low intensity, below 60% of your 1 repetition maximum. Well, when you go into a squat, you are going into flexion. So when you're going into flexion, that's coupled with exhalation. So you want to exhale on the way down and then inhale on the way up, because when you come up, you are going into extension of the spine. So with regard to the actual squat, the breathing pattern is going to be reversed if you are doing anatomical breathing versus breathing for the purposes of doing intense exercise. Another pattern would be, let's take an example of a pull movement. If we are doing horizontal pulling, when you do a horizontal pull, as you bring your shoulders into extension, your chest is naturally going to expand expand a little bit more, and you are squeezing your shoulder blades together. So you are going into extension of the humerus, and then you are also going into retraction of your shoulder blades, which is going to be adduction or sagittalization of your scapula. Because you are doing that, if you are doing low intense exercise, but below 60% of your 1 repetition maximum, so let's say for your warm-up, you would want to inhale on the pull and then exhale as you release the actual weight. Because as you release, what's happening is you are going into internal rotation, adduction, and you are also going into flexion of the spine. Whereas if you are doing something like very, very high intensity, let's say you are doing 10 repetitions on a row, well, when you're doing it in that way, you would want to exhale on the pull because that's the concentric phase, and then you would want to inhale on the lowering phase as you bring it back. Those are just a few of the ways that you can incorporate anatomical breathing for those specific patterns. So again, if you are doing anatomical breathing or low intensity exercise below 60%, you want to mimic the breathing with the actual planes of motion that you are doing with your body. So if you're doing anything that involves extension of the spine, abduction of the shoulders, or external rotation of your humerus, you would want to do inhalation. If you are doing any exercises that involve flexion of the spine, that involve medial rotation of the shoulders or adduction of the shoulders, then you would want to do exhalation. When you are doing any type of physical activity that is above 60% of your 1 repetition maximum, so more intense exercise, then you want to inhale during the eccentric or the lowering phase of the exercise, and then you would exhale during the concentric or the lifting phase of the exercise. So what you want to do is incorporate that into your program. If you are doing warm-ups that are below 60%, or if you are doing any type of body weight work where it's very, very low intense exercise, that is how you would want to mimic your breathing pattern, so you could do more of an anatomical breathing pattern. But that's pretty much it for today's video. Those are a couple different breathing techniques that you can incorporate when you are performing exercise. Try to incorporate these and see if you notice a difference in with regard to your actual lifting. But that's pretty much it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to smash that like button so I know to make more of these types of videos in the future. And if you're either new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell, as I will be uploading new videos every single day. That's it for today's video. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you again tomorrow.